Hello and welcome again to Makery by Mooney. It's another brew day or brew night, whatever, brew evening. Time zones are really a relative concept. But as I stated in a previous short, it had been a few months before since I made a cyser. A cyser is like a hybrid fermented beverage that is somewhere between a hard cider. There's your apple juice right there. And a mead, which is just honey mixed, diluted with water left to ferment. So we're going to put 16 ounces, a pound of honey as fermentable sugars, in addition to the original gravity of the apple juice, which is not a lot. If you left that to its own devices, it would probably bring you to somewhere between 4 and 5% ABV. I meant to look up the approximate combined OG of honey and apple juice before I started this video. It just didn't turn out that way. So maybe I can try to find it while I'm shooting. If not, we'll just do what we always do on this channel and wing it. We'll get set up in the phone holder that my wife was nice enough to let me use, so you can keep an eye on the action. Get a big spoon here. Gigantic spoon. Alright. My trick with not having to expend too much energy cooling down your wort is it has to be a certain temperature to melt the fermentable sugars, but then if it's too hot, it's going to kill your yeast. So then you have to wait extra time for it to cool down. And that's, you just let it get to what I call blood temperature. And if you've been homebrewing as long as I have, you kind of just get a feel for it. If it's to the point where it's the slightest bit uncomfortable to put your fingers in, then you need to turn the heat off, take it off the heat, and pitch your fermentable sugars, like which I said in this case is going to be a pound of honey. We're going to pitch some of it and then stir it around to make sure that it doesn't gather too much there on the bottom of the pot. And of course, some of the heat, temperature is going to get close to equilibrium because some of the heat's going to be expended in melting this honey. And you know what? I might not go down all the way down to a whole 16 ounces, just because I am using bread yeast. And the very top of that species tolerance is 13% in the most ideal situations. So probably what we came out to there was 12 or 13 ounces, which I think will be okay. As I said before, apple juice is going to give you more or less like 3.8 to 4.9% ABV. I'm just not wanting to overshoot the fermentable sugar conversion capability of the yeast species I'm using. I would rather it finish out dry and not have overshot that fermentable sugar ability of the yeast, and have it be dry and crisp than the other way around. Have an unstable brew that is too sweet, which if you're anything like me, you prefer a mostly dry finished product. You don't like something that is what they call cloyingly sweet. We'll test that. Still a bit warm to be pitching yeast, especially, you know, I've got this bulk container of Fleischmann's. You know, I'm low tech, I use bread yeast, I'm like that. And they always said to keep it in the refrigerator, and I just realized that that's probably going to be like temperature abuse. I didn't have it out of the refrigerator for long enough. And now that's going to be like temperature culture shock to the yeast. They went from being about 42 degrees to being 105 degrees, and I don't think that's going to be good for them. I mean, I'm going to let it cool down a little bit, but it's like, it's right at the point where a lot of yeast are going to be killed right now, like talking 120, 125 degrees. So I think I may, for the next brew day, just remember to let this set out for a while before starting, and just use one of the little blister packets of the same brand, the same strain that I had laying around, and pitch that. I'll get that and I'll be back. Sorry about the lighting.
What, Dad? What about light?
Whoa!
Dad,
Let there be light.
that hurt my ears.
That hurt your ears. It's not making a sound.
No, it hurt my ears. It hurts my ears.
Looky there. Yeah, that's a little better. My wife bought a high-tech gadget
I want
here.
cotton candy. My mom,
It's too late for you to have cotton candy.
my mom said eat the rock. There can have some.
Right. As Brian and Derica from City Stead Brews would say, I'm going to thwack my packet to make sure that all of the little yeasties make it to their intended destination. the way that you can get this down to yeast pitching temp a little quicker is to stir it. And let all that heat get out of there, or not all of it, most of it. I think we're at a good place right now. For all of you cringing right now because I'm sticking fingers that have not been dipped in star sand, the container that the pot that I'm making this in has not been dipped in star sand. Nothing's been dipped in a sanitizer. They've been cleaned, not sanitized, cleaned with mild dish soap. I'm not criticizing anybody that uses sanitizer, but I've had like a 1 in a million infections in my brews, so I just do things kind of more the old way, and it's not bit me in the backside too much. Get this cut open. It's down to about blood temperature here, so since this was in a single serve package, if you want to put it that way, I'm not going to proof it because it's been stored, vacuum packaged, and I have little doubt as to its freshness and its potency. Go ahead and pitch it. Alright. As you can see that it's already starting to get kind of foamy and establishing a colony in there. Something that may get on you guys' nerves of the many things I do on my different videos. And let me know if it does, because the whole point of doing this channel is to produce enjoyable content and informational content. But my wife got me it's kind of like a, brewer's Bible, what have you. And I had a video recently where I read some excerpts from that. This is a really interesting book. By the way, you hear me mention Brian and Derica a lot on my videos. If you're interested in home brewing, I would give their channel a look. Citystead Brewing. Hopefully I'm not violating any copyright laws from saying that. I'm just kind of letting you know it's a cool channel. I've watched them for, I've been homebrewing for about 15 years. I've watched them for around a decade, and they're just a really cool channel. Also, Clawhammer Supply is a great channel, and there's a few others, if I can maybe think to mention them at some point. The book I'm reading from is Brew Beer Like a Yeti by Jeremy Zimmerman. I'm not receiving any endorsements, and hopefully I'm not breaking any rules. But my wife knows that I'm a fan of homebrewing, and I'm a fan of like Bigfoot stuff. So I read, go back to where I have it dog-eared, and I'll read from there. Well, that yeast is kind of producing a colony. However, we know that chicha, the beer made by indigenous South Americans, is made by chewing corn kernels, which not only exposes the germ for fermentation, but also provides necessary enzymes that occur naturally in human saliva. Interestingly, chicha almost exclusively was made from corn chewed by women in the village. Now, I'm not a history expert, and I don't know what, or a culture expert. I don't know why that was, but it seems like up to a certain point, it was sometime circa the Industrial Revolution, women did all the brewing. And, you know, I won't get on to that in, you know, as far as politics goes. But it's just interesting. Women almost exclusively did all of the brewing in not all cultures, but a lot of cultures up until the Industrial Revolution. And then if you want to look at it from a feminist point of view, which I don't necessarily want to, but it was kind of taken from them, stolen from them, however you want to put that, by men. We'll read on here. Granted, beers made this way are lower in alcohol and tend to be cloudy, as boiling also concentrates the wort and kills any remaining enzymes, allowing for a clearer beverage with higher alcohol content due to more concentrated sugars.
Dad,
It is highly unlikely, though.
Wayne's movie is over, so can I watch
No,
this?
it's not, honey. You can watch that after it's over, but it's not over. Due to more concentrated sugars. It is highly unlikely, though, that Neolithic beers were boiled for any amount of time. Kids. Dr. Martin Zornkow, a brewing historian and Center of Life and Food Sciences at the Munich Technical University, notes that beer is still brewed at ambient temperatures in Africa today, so nothing above just whatever the air temperature is. But it is drunk young while still foaming, as it is the yeasty head that keeps spoiling microorganisms out. Most other ancient cultures would have drunk their beer this way as well, and few, if any, would have boiled their wort. Sati, a traditional Finnish beer, was customarily made without boiling the wort, and is still made this way in some parts of Finland today. Billy Quinn and Declan Moore, more environmental and archaeological consults in Galway, recreated a prehistoric beer for which they heated the wort by dropping hot stones in it. More on this chapter in Chapter 8. It would have been far too labor-intensive to bring the wort to a boil using this method. They found that the act of fermentation and the fact that they used a clean water source kept the beer from spoiling. Many of the recipes in this book call for a 1-hour boil. Primarily, this is a standard for most brewing recipes today, particularly those that use hops. For those that don't require any boil or don't need a 60-minute boil, I'll make a note. It doesn't hurt to understand that boiling wort isn't needed to initiate fermentation, but that there are often good reasons for doing so. I'll say, I think it's interesting, say in the 18th century, they were starting to get a grasp of things that went on microscopically with microbacteria, but they weren't quite there yet. They knew that they had to boil just boil to death their mash in order to get all the sugars out of the mash to make a good wort. They had almost no understanding that that's what made beers safe to drink when water was unsafe to drink. Now, if they had known that, they would have just said, we can just boil the smithereens out of our water and drink it. But I have to think that ultimately they would have thought, water is just not as much fun to drink as beer. And let's say, for example, in the colonies in the 18th century, beer was not. I'm not a. You can judge me for this how you like, but I don't like micro-brewed, like artsy-fartsy stuff. I like macro-brewed American lagers that are crisp and crushable and refreshing. They were not like that. This is around the time that the India Pale Ale was developed. They were, shipping beer overseas, and hops. The introduction of hops to create that preservative effect. Not only did it add to the flavor profile, but it added to the preservation of it so that it could make it overseas. Yes, Malia?
Can you turn on my movie?
Okay, hold on. Can I have a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you go in there and I'll be in there in a minute? Okay. While I take care of something, we'll have you guys look in on how that yeast colony is developing. Initially, it does so pretty quickly, but it's going to take anywhere from a week to 2 weeks with the original gravity that I usually deal with before it's a final product, not accounting for aging, which I rarely do. Me and my wife usually have it drunk before it has time to age, which I think is okay. All right, looky there.
Can I see? I want to see. Pick me up.
I would say that I hate to keep quoting Brian and Derek from City Stead Brewing, but it really doesn't bother me at all to keep quoting them. It's developed a beautiful foam dome, which means you have a healthy yeast colony.
Can I see?
And my daughter wants to see it.
Wow.
Looky there.
Can I touch it?
No, you can't.
Oh.
You can go in there, and I'll help you put your movie on, okay?
Give me the card.
Yeah, please clean up your mess, okay? I always think it's good to let that kind of get established. Yeast are like high-end koi fish or whatever else. You have to be delicate with them. You can't take them from one environment and then just willy-nilly, roughly put them into another environment and have it go well. You kind of want to let them get settled and get used to being in that pot, and then we will put them into the fermenting container. I don't tend to get into a huge hurry about this. Okay. Malia, come show me what movie you want to watch.
I was the movie.
What?
Dad, see the DVD case.
Come show me what movie you want to watch.
Can you see the DVD case?
Okay. You don't have to scream and holler at me. It's okay. Is that the one?
Yeah. I put it on DVD and barbecue.
You already put it in?